Somebody want to volunteer to do invocation there? The Zoning and Building Standards Commission of the City of Log Cabin is meeting May 20th, 2020 at 6:00 p.m. at Log Cabin City Hall, 14387 Allenmore Road, Log Cabin, Texas. The meeting is being streamed on YouTube on the City of Log Cabin channel. Citizens who wish to make comments and ask questions may do so via text to 903-875-6501. For the closed session as necessary, the meeting will be reopened after the closed session. The items to be discussed or considered are on the agenda. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Father God, we ask the presence today as we tend to the business of the City of Log Cabin. We thank you, Lord, that we live in such a beautiful place. And we ask your direction as we make decisions. We ask all this in Jesus' name, amen. This is a workshop. We do not need to do the roll call.
Do we, if you're gonna give this to them sections, we should have all the copies with the stamp of draft on it,
Yes.
because this is gonna get somewhere out in the public.
Oh, sure.
It's not gonna say draft, and they're gonna say, this is coded. Okay. So every page that goes to it should have this draft stamp on it.
We've been starting to do that with everything that we give to them, that they may change it and so before they approve it. So yes, we would do that. I guess we do need to do a roll call because we're going to approve minutes from the May 14th meeting. So, Lee.
Here.
Weldon.
Here.
Donna.
Here.
Renee. Here. David is absent. We have a quorum. I'm entertaining a motion to approve the minutes of the May 14th, 2020 meeting.
Well, I read the minutes, but I not reviewed.
No, just the minutes.
Just the minutes, I make a motion.
That's all workshop stuff.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Then let's just move into, I typed up what we had discussed last time, and that's what we have in front of you. I stopped. One of the things that we had talked about, and as I was typing this, and as I was looking at other ordinances from other cities, we were trying to figure out zoning district names and what we should call them. I propose that a single family dwelling, whatever, on page 4. All right. The single family dwelling site built, that we call that R1 for residential, site built 1,200 square feet minimum.
Call it what?
We're gonna call it residential, site built 1,200 square foot minimum.
That's the title of this.
Well, that's what this-
R1.
So it's gonna be called R1.
The abbreviation will be R1.
So, yes, so it
R1.
would, yeah.
Instead of SF.
Abbreviation instead of SF is gonna be R1. So it will be, instead of saying single family dwelling, we can say whatever we want, but it should be resident, maybe residential dwelling, 1,200 square feet minimum. Maybe that's how it should be. I think it should say residential.
Residential dwelling, 1,200 square feet.
Minimum.
That's under the name, and the abbreviation R1.
And then it's gonna be abbreviation R1 instead of SF.
And do we need to say site filter, leave that in?
I think,
I mean, is that,
we don't have anything that's not site built, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Except for the HUD code manufacturer.
Well, but that's a
That's
different,
separate-
that's a
that's a separate code,
separate,
right,
it's
separate
a separate code, separate section. And then we can call, what's on here as cabin home, that we can call that R2,
Residential dwelling.
R2 residential dwelling, 600 square foot. Does that make more sense than what is here? I mean, if somebody's just looking at this and they're thinking, okay, so what's a cabin? I know why they did it, because they were envisioning
And,
cabin.
and then
But,
make it,
but if you say cabin to somebody, they're gonna think, I gotta build a cabin. Well, no, you don't, you can build a little cottage.
And this is log cabin, so maybe it has to be a log cabin.
Yeah, and you're right,
and they're calling a lot of those,
tiny
little
homes.
tiny homes cabins.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, and so if you go to one of those places and you say, if they say I have to have a cabin, and they say, oh, here you go.
Or fishing cabin, or, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's
And
good.
we're gonna call that R2?
we're gonna call that R2.
On two, because like we said before, we were calling, everything's single family.
Yes, yes.
So that was kind of.
So yeah, I was trying to find something in residential, I think
That sounds good.
describes all of it.
And it shouldn't be confused with HUD code.
No, and I think that one can stay the same as MH.
Right.
And then, yeah, we can move HUD code down below those, move those two.
Or you
up.
can leave it there, it doesn't matter, but,
It'd be better to move those.
okay, so you wanna move,
Next
you wanna move the cabins up?
Be careful that it's gonna affect where we make references
Down
to
the road.
paragraph, say
Yeah.
paragraph so-and-so, we gotta make sure we find every one of those.
Yep.
You're right.
You're right,
I'd rather just leave it,
But
but this is gonna get really sticky, because
okay,
there's places we make references back and forth throughout the paragraphs.
that takes you back to the,
right, so we'll just leave that in that order.
yeah,
We can do that, though. I'm not against it, just saying we gotta be very careful, because
Right, well, we make,
Places-
I mean, I was, when I get to these things that say subsection 3C1,
Yeah.
and I even hate that when they do that, because then that makes you think, okay,
where is that?
where is that, and is that right, and am I doing this right?
Well, there's one in here, reference to, or,
Or A5, and we're not even at 4.
right, and there's a place where it says, it's the one that talks about signage. And it says, except as noted in, and it does a long thing, and it doesn't even exist. And it's like, B goes to Roman numeral something, and then letter B, and then anyway, under whatever it was underneath, there was only like two things, and it goes all the way to 17. So there's like 17. So it's very confusing. I just made a note, I wanted to just say, go 4 items below, and we list them right below.
Yeah,
So, you're right, it's very confusing when you put all that paragraph, so it looks like a government document, which is what this is, I guess. but
well,
it's-
it is, but we want to make it as user-friendly as possible.
yeah, we got rid of them on the.
I really am, I really had it with government documents this week.
Yeah, I'm sure you know.
Okay, so I think, just take a look at, the formatting that so far we have done on pages 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. That's good.
You see how when I put section 1 in the center, how that pulls it out?
Mhm.
We could also add another white line just before that section, before each
Oh.
one of the sections to pull it further forward.
We, under section 1A, under ordinance and zoning, and then it line up with ordinance. Like we did on the.
Oh, yes, okay, yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
And also, I bolded those and.
So the title,
Right, okay.
so so we're gonna bold the Roman numeral and
The Roman numeral, well,
and ABC.
I didn't.
And that's fine.
I didn't do and the ABC, but I'm not gonna do the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's fine, I think that's a good idea.
But
ADs.
the major
the major.
things, yeah, the major things.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you need to indent the ball the same.
We'll need to change this.
Okay, under Roman numeral 1, our A and D don't have just a title, it starts a long sentence.
Right.
So we just don't really know either way.
Probably not. I mean, we won't bold that part
We bold the A and the B and not the words.
because it doesn't have. We'll just, because it'll be.
That's great, but good.
Okay, so this is, so Weldon, this is how you imagined it should look, right? That's how you.
Yeah, that
imagined
to
it should
me,
look.
well, you just need it, it looks a lot easier to read than what it was.
Yeah.
Just,
Okay,
um,
that's what,
So our table of contents will reflect those changes to R1 and R2.
yep, we'll make that happen
how many,
throughout.
just a question here, how many, the spacing between, this is technical stuff.
No,
Spacing between the letter or number in the beginning of the sentence, is that a standard? It looks pretty far to me, but like on page 5 of number 1,
Well,
I mean, they're all the same, I'm just saying, when you look at it, I mean, it looks very easy to read, but a couple of spaces, is that standard? I don't know what standard is.
that is the easiest way to type
Okay, tab.
You got to change your tabs.
It's a tab. It's a tab, so,
Okay, that's
Or,
cool.
in section 1, enacting clause, ordinance 31-J, or should that be K now?
Where you
no,
going?
because
We're
it says,
working on
known as zoning and building, together with all amendments thereto, is hereby superseded in
Right.
its entirety by
Okay.
zoning and
Okay.
building standards ordinance number 31.
Everyone.
Okay, okay,
So,
okay.
so I left the title zoning and building ordinance
Okay.
because that's what 31J was called.
Yes.
Right,
But I changed
Changed
it
it.
when I did 31J.
Always did like the standards on the end of the building, because then it was like VMPS. Instead of CMP.
That's true. Sorry.
No, that's good, that's good.
Makes absolute sense.
the NBS, oh.
Now, that makes more sense.
That would explain it all. One look at
Okay,
Very good.
That looks good, Mayor. I like the
all right.
formatting and everything. I'm not proofread every word yet, but I will.
Well, no, we need to compare them to what you understood
Yeah.
it to say.
We have to do it now or later?
Don't do it now.
Okay.
Don't do it now, let's go on.
Please stop that.
We stopped at page 6.
Yeah. Just so I share.
I've got, let's see. So I've got my mark at number one, single family. Is that where everybody is? I have some other things in there.
Okay, so the,
So we're gonna change this.
title will be different, right?
Residential.
Actually, it's, uh,
Residential dwelling. That's all one.
So. So we can say residential dwelling R1 without saying. All the rest of what we put in.
is that what we want to do,
Or do you want it, well, because aren't we gonna say,
So
we're gonna
everybody,
say that down in here.
right,
Do you wanna put it in that first one?
I'm just saying,
Then
well,
they'll know that they're reading the right one.
yeah, because
The
it's,
12
it's part of the title.
All right,
Right?
and everything we're at SF, we're gonna change. So
So I'm gonna. So I'm gonna say residential dwelling, am I gonna put the R1 in there, or am I gonna put the, I'm gonna say 1,200. So instead of site built, do we wanna say
Be
site built at this point?
We said, last time we said we might, maybe I just did this, but we started the sentence with the word land,
Yes,
and then put site built down there between family and dwelling.
yes. Shall we use, and do we wanna say, do we want it to say land in the R1 zoning district shall be used exclusively for site built? We don't wanna say single family, we wanna say single family at that point.
Well, this is,
There's gonna be a lot of repetition in it.
but we haven't said that anywhere yet. have we?
No.
We want to say
Single
once.
family,
Yeah.
we wanna say single.
I think we need to say it there, and then maybe we don't say the rest of the place. And this is defining exactly what we mean by all along. So we put site built after family or before single, whichever way you want. That way, once and for all, say site built,
Right.
say single family.
Which way?
Yeah.
Oh, got it, just
Single family site built.
single family site
single
built
family site built dwelling.
And dwelling with an S, right?
dwellings, with dwellings.
So it's dwelling.
Oh, yeah. Good.
That way we say everything you want to say in the definition, the rest of the place, we don't necessarily have to repeat. Site built or-
Speaking of definitions,
Yeah,
do we want to be working on definitions as we go along?
I think we're gonna run into some places pretty soon where we're gonna need to at least do some of them. I got a lot
I
of
mean,
questions.
I mean, we could just pull that definition section out as we're working and.
Well,
To use
I'm thinking as we go,
To
as we go along, we're gonna be changing it, so as needed. For example,
Or do we just
On
need
this-
to start a new definition page as we go, and then when we get to the definitions, put them in? I mean,
I just don't wanna go to the definitions now because we're not, we don't know enough yet. We haven't
no,
gone through
right,
it.
right,
But if we wanna,
Let's not miss any as we're going then.
like, put down a definition as we go and then compare them when we get there. Yeah, like on this very page, there's gonna be an issue of accessory building.
Right.
And we get into that, it's like, what is an accessory building?
okay.
Okay, so we, after those things, we just talked about that first paragraph is good the way it is. So,
But then
on A, you take out single family this time. It's all throughout here, we've already defined it in the first paragraph. I'm just saying, like, only one dwelling shall be erected instead of one single family, we already said
that's fine.
it's exclusively for single families that built.
Only one dwelling shall be erected within the boundaries of the district. And then we're gonna take that one out and make that another paragraph under this.
Within the R1 district.
All zoning district, at that point, do we need to repeat the 1,200 or no?
R1 means 1,200.
So we go back to the title of R1, 1,200 square foot minimum, R2, 600 square foot minimum. We don't need to repeat that here, or do we?
Just,
No, because it's already under
already-
residential dwelling, 1,200 square foot minimum.
just like within the.
And that's all gonna be bolded at the top of this whole, everything that comes after it, until we get to the next bold thing.
And then number one, we said we move out just a second paragraph.
Right.
Under the first paragraph.
Okay.
Do we wanna take single family out of that
We'll
again?
take that out again.
No, it's one dwelling.
On number one.
Don't wanna take that out.
Only one dwelling shall be erected.
The verification is just, you know, we try to make it easier on them. Pretty soon they're gonna go, oh.
Try to keep it simple.
We know they're gonna finally figure it
I
out.
can if I
That's
can.
true.
I can if I can.
B, just say dwellings, take out single family. Dwellings in the R1. So we go to at least 1 feet from the front lot line. Oh, okay, this sentence, we worded different in other places, so this is what I had for that sentence in B. At least 20 feet from the front lot line, comma, 5 feet from the side lot lines, or.
Alright, so,
Right now it says 20 feet from the front lot line. put a
and then,
comma.
take,
Take out
and
and
no
no
here
here.
then,
Take out and no near them.
right?
5 feet from the side, and take out or, and after side lot lines, comma, and 6 feet from the
Where?
it already says back lot line, and just add an S to line. Back lot lines. Within the lot. Or, I mean, take off the S.
The S. and-
Take off the S and put
So
the
it
back
says,
lot line of any lot.
dwellings in R1 zoning district shall be located at least 20 feet from the front lot line, comma, 5 feet from the side lot lines, and 6 feet from the back lot line of any lot.
Sorry,
I've given a prize for anyone who wants to kill that
I'm
fly.
gonna use that one next.
Go find that block from the last
What's
one.
our prize? I'll see.
Everybody okay with that wording? Because there's another place that it's different and
Yeah.
We'll try and keep this one
The one that we-
standard
Right.
in all of all of them.
then one below that is a one parenthesis rather than a one period. The 1, 2, 3 below it is 1, 2, 3 parentheses and all those.
Oh.
Under B.
Awesome.
All in that format.
Okay.
The first one says the front lot line
Is,
is that lot line.
I was reading that going, what?
And then number 2, third sentence just starts out corner lots, where it should say for corner lots. Also, at the last sentence, after the last sentence on number two, there's a, one of the other sections in the back, there's just the following wording, which I think will put everywhere. This variance requires approval by the zoning and building standards commission. Apparently somebody decided after the fact I add that to one of those other ones, and they didn't add it on two of our sections. It's gonna be on one, it's on all three of them.
So this variance,
Requires approval by the zoning and building standards commission. We'll probably want to talk about the 20-foot setback later when we get into some of the places like cabins to see if it's practical or not, but hopefully we can say that when we get to that section.
right,
And number three, about distance from lot lines, the measurements at the nearest face corner portion, porch or whatever, except,
Except,
that eaves may extend 4 feet. Are there any eaves that extend 4 feet? That's a long eave.
well,
3 is
Some-
pretty long.
it's pretty good.
And I'm thinking
Only if
18
someone,
inches or 2 feet.
only if someone wants to, instead of building a porch, they would want to shape it in those with.
Okay, and here's my concern about that. It's not a concern on the front or back to me, but on the sides, we're saying they can build their house within 5 feet of the property line. So if the neighbor, there's 5 feet of property line, and both have 4-foot eaves.
They're
They're
2 feet apart.
They're 2 feet between the eaves of their houses, it's not gonna look really good. Probably not.
it could be a fire hazard.
So, 4 feet, I don't know, 4 feet just seems extreme to me, but maybe you can leave the 4 feet alone, but say, including the eaves has to be back, a certain distance, 2 feet or something, 3 feet from the property line, instead of having the eave where it comes within 1 foot of the property line. I don't know the likelihood of 2 houses doing the same thing, but just a thought.
Well, as far as these, on the side, could you put a stipulation where that eaves on the side will not advance more than 1 foot? You know, I mean, you can extend this way or this way, but not this way.
Yeah, I mean, you could do, say, 4 feet that applies the front and back.
Yeah,
All the
yeah,
sides.
but, yeah, on the sides, just set it, just set your mark, you know, so you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Right, well, front and back, if you like.
And what now?
Front and back are probably,
So what we want to refer to on the sides.
I mean, most of these
Most eaves are
are
either,
a foot, 18 inches, you
You
know.
could, on the sides, you could say 5 feet easement, including these, but on the front and back, it does not include these. That's one way out. We've been talking about this 5-foot thing to start with.
Which,
My thinking is,
my thinking is that that the eaves should not extend into that 5-foot area.
that'd be an easy way to,
On the side.
it'd be easy to word it that way, because you just say the 5 feet on the side includes eaves, and the 5 foot or the 20 feet and the 6 feet on the front and back. Your eaves can extend.
but on the back, you may,
On
on
the
the
back?
back, it may be an issue too, if there's an alley.
yeah, I mean,
Have the equipment right there, and the eaves hanging out.
That's right.
if we're trying to make a box here that fits all sizes. And Because you could have no issue whatsoever if you own like 2 lots, and you put in your house and you got plenty of room. I mean, the 4-foot eve, which is a pretty big eve, on both sides, all the way around the house, it might not be an issue
If
with
you
that
want a
lot.
4 foot even, you wanna put your house in the middle, that's fine.
Right.
But if you do it like you were suggesting, they were okay at that, that you can have,
Right.
you can have all the eve you want, but if you happen to be close to the side and the eve has to stop before it gets to the 5 foot. I mean, we can have, I was thinking about this earlier, you can have a fence on, which we can't now, but we could change it where you can have a fence right on the property line.
That's,
With the understanding that if XYZ utility company decides to put in high-speed internet cable or something, and they need to go, they can't do all the alley,
fence,
they want
they
to go,
have to come
they
down.
have to take the fence
Yeah.
down. And have that on the permit when they signed it and agreed to it, that it's not likely, but it's possible that you have to take the fence down. And the house will already be 5 feet out of the way, so that's not a problem. All we have to do is take the fence in. And that be their responsibility or something, or you just make it
I think
clear.
it's-
When we get to fences.
I think it's silly that we talked about before, to have to build 2 fences with an alleyway.
And they'll be 10 feet apart.
Yeah, they're gonna be 10 feet,
5
which
feet
is an
three
Well,
alley.
and,
Yeah.
you know, when you've got a 50-foot lot, you're taking up
You've gotta
that
go,
much, I mean, like we do.
you've gotta go to the edge.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's one thing, is you put, let them have to put the fence on, that way they can share a fence.
Like it's right, they got sheriff.
Put it on the property line and,
One fence.
with the understanding that when they get that permit, the understanding is that there's a very minimal chance, but there's always a chance, you gotta take this down if we have to run utilities. I mean, what are the odds?
But it's, I mean, why would you be running utilities? It's not really an easement.
Well, it is, it's a 10 foot easement.
Well, how about between,
I mean, it would be,
between you and the Hazes?
that's the back though, where the water line is.
But if you put, you know, whose property is that water line? Is it on yours? I mean,
It's
And-
on his.
and if you were to put, you know, what we're trying to eliminate is, with respect to that, is having to go on to somebody's property with heavy equipment and tear down their fence or whatever.
Well, let me give you an example. Where we live, they ran Highland power poles, and right across from me is a power pole, and they put a power pole right on my 5 foot easement. And then they went underground from there to my house. Now, if I had had a fence on my property, they went right down the property line, underground with power cable to my house. If I had a fence there, I would have tear it down. So there are places that all the utilities won't always come from behind the house. I mean, there's,
Well, no, that's correct.
and maybe they, for some reason, they can't get back there. Maybe they're running only to certain few houses. Use the example of a internet cable or something, you know, and the people want to run, they say, well, it's gonna cost a fortune for me to go down the back alley, go, you know, the alley for a mile to get to his house. So I may want to go right down that easement line. All of them are really slim, but
Yeah, the real issue is where we have those lots that are divided with the water line running down,
Right now,
right now. I mean, that's running down between the 2 lots that are on 2 different streets that back up to each other. That's the issue, and I've always had a problem.
But,
with
yeah,
that.
that's a true
Yeah, I don't,
utility easement.
yeah, and, you know, you have to know where the water line is, if you're gonna put a fence. And again, is it gonna be on your side, is it gonna be on their side? To not, to avoid that, if it's going right down the property line?
and they're not, I tell you, it's not going right down the property line, it's
Yeah,
one side or the
it's
other.
one side or the
And it
other.
goes like this around trees.
Yeah, well, sure, I mean,
As far as the 5 foot on each side of the property line, where the fence is, that's not really
I don't think
it's only an access, it's not yeah, not really.
I know over at Fort Hood, because we have different areas, but they're all so close together. They put a power in instead of digging on the ground, they used to telephone poles out there and boy, everything. Which is, you know, we had wires running everywhere, that was our problem, instead of going down front of the street. If they need a wire to run between two houses, they would stick a pole. And now you got a wire buggy going to wherever it needs to go. I thought it was unsafe, it's safe and convenient, but that's the way they done it.
Yeah.
Instead of tearing up people's stuff, they just went and dug a hole. Buried a hole. Dug a hole, buried a hole. But, you were talking about the easement. I had a question about that. What if somebody decides to build a house with a porch all the way in? That's not a big deal.
Well, it says in here that the porch is, it's talking about the front, I don't know about the sides, but the front is part of your,
Yeah,
it's part of your structure, so the 20 feet has to start from the porch, not the main porch.
no, what I'm saying, in case someone had a small lot and they put a whole porch around their house, and so now they're backed up against their neighbor's yard again because of the porch.
Well, but you have to look at the easements. I mean, that's why we have the easements. So, but that's a legitimate question, because the people out there that have done whatever in the past, I mean, like, you can go down, like you said, you can go down any street, you can see the violations of fences, you can see the violation of buildings that are there, that are closer to the pins.
Right on property line.
Yeah,
Right,
we
yeah.
can what if this
So-
thing to death, honestly.
I
Well,
mean,
that's true,
yeah,
but what we need to do is not what's already there, is what do we want it to look like in the future?
future, so we're not making
And
the
when
same
people
mistakes.
come in and want to add things to their property, what are we going to require of them at that point? I mean, we're not, there's nothing we can do about what's already out there. There's not one thing we can do about what's already out there. Except we can, later on, propose that one of the things we do is to put a time limit on non-conforming structures. Like Armstrong said, he would help us do that. At whatever point in time, there's a non-conforming structure on a property, we have to give them time to recoup their investment. And then they're gonna have to do something else.
Yeah. But I mean, this is not, we talked about, it's not an easy subject, it's not.
Well,
The math doesn't always work, so.
It took a long time to actually get to some of the problems we have now. And, you know, when you're trying to be proactive, you try to correct it. But when you correct it, you step on people's toes and, and they get mad. And you just, but you're really not picking on anybody, you're just trying to create a better area, you know. And that's what our job is to.
Yeah, well, like we said, we're trying to lay down some rules that won't have the same issues. But that's where it gets kind of cloudy, because the lots are so many various sizes and
So,
well, that's why,
eaves and
So-
things. we
so
find out.
right now, all of these properties that we're calling R1s are by and large 50 by 150.
So we've got 50.
50 by 150. In that range, I don't think we can 60. But most of the lots, if you go look at those sections that are R1 sections, those lots are large enough to. Section 14 is a different subject that we need to talk about. Because right now, it would be an R1 in those lots, if they do not take personal. They were originally done.
so,
Right.
back to paragraph number 3.
Yes, go to number 3. What are we
What I
gonna
heard
say?
you say was change the wording such that it says that the 4-foot eve is not included on front and back, but it's not included in the 20 feet. in other words, it can overhang into the 20 feet, or overhang into the, like the back, and certainly the front, but on the sides, the distance that he hangs out cannot go past the 5 foot. Setback on the sides, is that what?
Side building.
Y'all agree with this?
Now you want to put that in,
Well,
into one,
Yeah.
Sure.
one sentence.
uh,
Let's see how we can do that.
No part of the building
Shall
shall
extend beyond.
extend beyond the side build plan.
But right now, it says, except the eaves may project. We could easily change that to say, the eaves may project. We don't say front and back, or just front.
I wouldn't put back, because if they build that house right on the back of the property and then
So
they go,
where it says eaves may project beyond the building proper toward the front lot line, where there's some something 4 feet.
I would say no part. So,
And I'll say that including eaves or something, because we don't know, that's part of it.
this part of the,
People want, we're always going to try to, they're gonna say, well,
Well, you just said nothing about the eaves, and you're going,
that's part of the building, darling.
yeah. We'll have to set up.
So are we gonna put, I mean, either you make an exception or you don't make an exception.
Well, just throw a little bit of math in it for a second, okay? If the average lot in the R1 is gonna be 50 by 150, and we allow for the easements, we reduce that 7,500 square feet for that lot to 4,760 square feet for a 1,200 square foot minimum footprint. That should be no problem whatsoever
Right.
on a normal lot. So if someone's trying to put a single family house on a lot that's smaller than that, there could be issues. But there's no problem if you're taking a 50-foot and you're taking a 5-foot easement on both sides. You've now got a 40 by 126 because you've got 6 feet, you're back 20 feet off with pins on the front. So you got a 126 by a 40.
we got a little bit less than 40 because the eaves are gonna be
Right, and the eaves are gonna be, right,
12,
so,
18 inches or something like that.
right, but you still have a basic footprint of 4,760 square feet for a 1,200 square foot house. Theoretically.
And accessory
And
buildings and a
accessory
garage.
buildings and garages, which is then gonna take away where the placement of the houses and things like that. But I'm just trying to make it so that we have a model of some sort that we could use. And if it falls outside that model, maybe we make some kind of, you can't have a 4-foot eve on the sides of your house. You can't have a 4-foot. Maybe somebody wants to have a walkway that's covered on the side of their house. I mean, I get it, you have a big eve coming out. So, but just looking at the math of it, it's basically, we've got the room. If you put a 400 square foot garage, minimum 400 square foot garage, and you put a 200 square foot utility building, you still have the room based on a normal lot.
So how do you want to word that?
So how do we want to word this then? Are we looking at the exception to the rule, or are we looking at the model of the single family, which is now being called R1? Because R2 is a whole different ballgame. You can't have 4-foot eaves on a cabin, that's for sure.
I would say that when they're talking about, they're talking about the variances, are we talking about having to come and get a variance to do that if you have a less than? We have to, we're doing this for a normal circumstance.
Yeah.
So
I think we just,
not have that, not have,
right now, number 3 says distance from lot line shall be measured to the nearest space, corner, or portion of the dwelling.
attached or structural.
We could even put after words, comma, including eaves, just, because I think we're gonna need to say in the last sentence, the only exception is eaves, I don't know where the 4 feet comes from, but assuming we kept the 4 feet. Eaves the only exception would be eaves in the front may extend into the 20-foot
Well, okay, so except that eaves may project beyond the building proper
front.
Toward
Toward
the
the-
lot,
toward
front
the-
line,
the,
front lot line.
toward the front lot line, period.
And we're gonna keep 4 feet, is that?
I don't know where that 4 feet sounds
I don't know.
like they're almost gonna
I think
put a
somebody
porch
grabbed
on
it.
it.
Yeah, that sounds like a.
Somebody grabbed it and said-
Yeah, that sounds like a porch, like somebody built a porch on,
Yeah, we're coming,
somebody built a porch on it.
But a porch,
Would be, should be on.
porch is part of the thing that has to be 20 feet back.
Right, right. So,
Yeah,
so that's not even underneath.
yeah, but this is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
I
It sounds like
personally think that 4 feet ought to change to 2 or 3 or something that was reasonable. This sounds funny, a 4 foot eave.
I don't think we should put any kind of an amount in there. An eve is an eve.
But you will get someone
But if
with a
somebody
south
is
facing
trying-
house that wants to.
However, that's where we come in and say, a normal eve is,
Our lot's 50 feet, our house is 34 feet across.
Okay.
And then we had the 10-foot, it's 5 and 5, right?
You got 40, yeah.
40.
See, so,
So, and then if our eaves are 4 feet,
yeah,
we're pushing it.
well, that's what I'm saying. So, I'm not sure who I agree with here as far as, but if we eliminate the word eaves, someone can come in and put a 7-foot eave.
I know, I would say, well, let's
It's easy
just,
to cover right now.
yeah, let's just, well, we have to look at the future. Yeah, let's just take our box, this is our build area.
Right. This is
And and anything that on this house has to be within this build area.
that's what I do.
I mean,
Whether it's your deck or whatever.
it's almost like we almost have to, if we want to really protect ourselves on this, is to come up with, hey, this is what a model looks like for a normal lot here. If someone comes in and wants to change and go beyond that, they have to have the required distances to cover that. So in other words, if someone buys a lot that's 100 feet wide and 150 feet long, they pretty much could build a 4-foot eve without any problem because they own 2 lots. But to come in and say, now, let's just say we have Mr. and Mrs. Jones come in and they want to build a house at 1,200 square feet. We have to, okay, this is your lot. It's a 50 by a 150. Let's use our model. What do you want? What do you envision that house having? It's going to have 4-foot eaves on both sides, because if it does, you can't do it. You don't have the room for it. Because the structure itself is coming over and it's hanging over your easements that you have now. I mean, minimally, a 1,200 square foot house is going to be a 30 by 40.
So what do we want this paragraph to say? Are we saying any portion of the dwelling, do we want to say any portion of the dwelling has to be within inside this 20 foot and 5 foot and 5 foot and 6 foot?
I would think.
That's what I think we have to do.
I think, because then somebody's gonna come in and say, I wanna put a deck that is 10 feet or 20 feet behind my house, you know.
So if we're gonna say any portion of the building, the
Right.
next question is, do we want to say include, do we want to say including these, or we just want to leave that alone and just assume that it means that?
I think we should just scratch the
No,
eaves.
I don't know why we're talking about eves.
Eaves, right.
Okay, well then let's take.
Why is it-
let's
I
just
mean,
say-
I really
Yeah.
don't know why we're talking about eves, because
That's why I was
a
saying, I don't know.
normal
Because
house has normal eaves.
If we have to specify any portion of the dwelling,
That's pretty.
and that would include any eve, no matter if it's 4 feet, 8 feet, 2 feet, whatever.
So distance from lot lines measured to the nearest face, corner, or portion of the dwelling. attached accessory structure, or, I don't know, get it down, any portion of the dwelling. You wanna say include, I don't know. You wanna say,
Any dwelling that would have eaves or a porch or a deck that would extend.
Attached accessory structure or porch. A
Period.
deck is a structure,
That could be dwelling.
Yeah, it could be anything.
garage, a
You can-
carport,
Right.
any kind of a structure that's attached to.
They have to have the room.
so put a period after porch and.
I
probably
say, and then, I don't think we need to say anything else.
back.
We're not gonna
Period,
talk about
period,
eaves.
end of porch, and
Period.
scratch the rest of it, right?
Yeah. That's-
You got scratch and distance, 4 feet on.
Okay.
Because we're wide open in the.
Except.
But that would include decks, anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're getting into an issue with decks and all kinds of stuff.
You know what you're trying to do? They were trying to cover everything they could possibly could, and it's impossible.
You can't.
You can't.
Well, with adding this 4 feet, it sounds like somebody's, had a house that was on the on the build line.
Right.
They put a front door or put an extra door in there and put an eave up there.
I mean, it really comes
And then
down,
they were over the,
it really comes down to this. It
4 foot little porch.
really comes down to, here's your lot, here's the house you're gonna put on the lot. With whatever structures, does it fit and does it stay within the boundaries? If it doesn't,
Well,
You
okay,
make
all
it.
right, so with what she says, so we have an existing house
okay,
that sits 20 feet off the front. And they want to put in some kind of a porch so that they have something that covers their front door. So now what do you do? Tell them, no, you can't do that?
well, have to go with the variance.
That's,
Just
then they
what
would have
happens.
to
that's
do a
just what
variance.
happened.
And so that's
We've had this
covered
for-
up here.
We've had that very issue.
That said, so it says, well, but this,
No, that variance
that
wasn't.
only has to do with the corner lots.
Odd shape corner lots, not just lots.
Odd
It's
shape.
very specific, odd shaped lots.
With odd shaped lots. So,
The only thing you go to is the
And-
variances back here.
and the
Right.
variances in the back, you would have to, each one is an individual
Individual.
thing.
It's a study, would be a
It's
study.
a one individual thing.
Right.
That you decide, yes, go look at it. Is that gonna be?
Will this work?
We just
Will
had
it
the,
work?
we just
Well,
had the
how is it
gentleman
gonna
last, remember the last meeting, we had a gentleman that was sitting there, they wanted to, he had the, what is the name of the street fire,
The one in the cul-de-sac?
campfire? Yeah, he was on it, and he was trying to, he said he wanted to put a 1,200 square foot.
Only one 600 square
A
foot.
600 square foot house, no way to lot was shaped, or whatever, it wasn't there. Remember, we said the only way to go was up then, 2 stories, and make a lot. So,
Goes down a hill, he could,
I mean, he
okay,
could do it.
he could have done it.
Yeah. He just didn't understand how. He needed a little help.
but he was also in a 1,200 square foot, that's what the problem
Are
was.
we ready
He
for
was
C?
R1.
He was
Are
in
we
an
ready for-
R1.
Are
We're gonna
are we
move on.
done?
See,
That's, he was in the
take
R1.
attached accessory buildings, that's where it really gets interesting.
Yeah.
In the R1.
So, same way on the, at the end of the sentence, the same things about the, let's see, was it there, 40 feet from the front lot line, comma, nor nearer than 5 feet from the side lot lines. We have lot lines, comma, and 6 feet from the And then take out the word or,
Yep.
just insert all that
And
after
it's
the
just
word
like
side.
that.
Now, still, I got issues here on detached accessory buildings. What is the difference between an accessory building? In our definitions, there is no difference, I'll tell you right now, but just, what should be the difference between an accessory building and a garage? If somebody wants to put a 1 or 2 car garage, is that an accessory building? A 3-car garage? Okay. To me.
I say it's anything that's detached from your house is an accessory building. Even a garage.
Okay, there are cases,
Where you want the
What-
garage even with your house.
well, think about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Suppose the house is set back 60 feet. And you want to put the garage detached.
Right.
Now, in front of that, now, there are cases that I know of where they have this, but it looks extremely nice. Looks kept up great, they're not shabby buildings, they're nice, new metal buildings, and they look great.
That's what I want.
Don has that.
Don, yeah, Don and I,
you go by-
Don and I
you-
walk these
We
things.
go by his house, it's one of the neatest places in
Yeah.
town.
Yeah, it's actually, it's like a swinging
So,
house, that
So you-
it's attached,
we
but
need
it's
to
like
think-
swing.
and that's grandfathered, so,
Yeah. So
but,
he's not
but I'm
bad.
just saying, we need to think about what we write down so that it doesn't take away from somebody that really wants to put in something that looks nice. And so, that's why I raised the question of accessory building versus, compare these two things, a 3-car garage versus a 6x8 storage building, or a 6x6.
What if they have 5 storage buildings in their backyard?
Yeah, a small,
I know,
I mean, I've seen back in, when I was younger, people had little storage buildings, like 6 foot square, to store their tools and stuff in.
Yeah.
And so,
We've got one of those now.
there's a lot of difference between that and a 3-car garage, so. I don't know the answer, I'm just raising the issue, that it's, when I read this, I thought, man, how do we deal with this?
yeah, do we need to define, then, do we have to say garage, like your example? A house.
Something that's not a
sitting-
dwelling,
The house is sitting 60 feet back, like you said.
accessory building
And
definition.
they want to put a nice 2-car, 3-car garage, and they have the room for it. The house is sitting 60 feet
And
back.
if the house is back 60 and the garage is back 40 or 20, you know, so legally, well, no, I guess that'd be 40, since it's a detached.
Yeah, this is 40.
So you're gonna be 20 feet in front of the house,
Right,
but, okay, compare that, nice 3-car garage set 20 feet further, closer to the road than the house, versus a 6x6 storage building in the same spot. Yeah. I mean, we want that. I mean, that's, somehow we gotta,
and the next thing, they want to protect their 6x6 foot storage by putting a fence up, which is now 40 feet in front of the house. You know, when we're saying house fences should be, you know, behind the house, or to the, you know, to the closest, to the sides of the house, the corners of the house. I mean,
no further forward than the front of the
no,
house.
no, yeah, further forward. So if you're putting in, now they want to enclose this compound that they're putting in. We can't do that.
So just think about that, how we would, if we want to differentiate between the two.
I think we're gonna.
My only concern was, again, I'm exaggerating the point, the 3-car garage sit a little closer to the road than the house, versus a 6x6 little storage tool shed, 10 feet or 20 feet closer to the street than the front of the house. Right now, you can have either one, as long as it's 40 feet back from the street. And the house could be 80 feet
Well,
back.
see, in my case, I want to use the circle drive
Yeah.
and drive straight into the garage with the boat,
See, if you've got.
and have
the
a door
room-
on the other side to drive out.
If you've got the room, then, like I said, you could have the house sitting 80 feet back.
and have a circle drive and have detached garage, it's 40 feet back. And still have plenty of room, but I don't wanna see a 6 foot by 6 foot storage shed.
So somehow we have to
Different.
allow the people that are gonna do it the right way, but
Yeah,
not
so maybe
allow the
instead
people that are
of-
gonna do it the wrong way.
Maybe instead of calling things accessory buildings, that we define this type of a building and this type of a building, this type
I think we're gonna have to.
of.
That's why I wrote down the question, discuss.
Right,
This is out of
Garage
FEMA,
versus
FEMA
storage.
government. It says, for example, a residential structure may have a detached garage, storage shed, or for garden tools as accessory structures. Other examples of accessory structures include gazebos, picnic pavilions, boathouses, pole barns, storage sheds, or similar, and I can't get the post.
No, but you're, the ace in the hole for this whole thing was that there really is no difference. I mean, the definition of a garage and accessory building.
Yeah.
that's what she said.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. See,
And that is
that-
from FEMA.
so we're writing an ordinance for this city, wouldn't that supersede? Right, you can do, you can say, we don't want to have a structure that's an accessory building that is forward of the house, right?
We don't wanna have a storage building.
Right, a storage building, a shed, whatever, right? So the only thing that would be allowed then would be a garage,
How about a park, how about a carport?
or carport, or a carport. If they had the distances and they were, stay within their, what the requirements are, we know what those are.
With the shape of these lots, it's very difficult to get a car back to a back garage. You know, if you're building a house on a 50 by 150 foot lot to build a garage in the back. And clear
Wow.
out. Yeah.
Okay, and the other thing is that if the house is already there, like in your case, the house is already there and now you want to add things. Your house was a good example too.
You had a garage house on side front, didn't you?
When I got there, the storage building and the carport.
Were there,
Okay.
and then he added the two structures.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I guess,
Sidewalk.
I guess.
See, that's why I wanted to
we-
don't use my other
We
lot.
have to differentiate between the garage as part of the, as opposed to an accessory building.
Well, that's why I made a note of it.
That's why you made a
because-
note of
Yeah.
it.
Because my concern was, again, 2 or 3 car garage versus a 6 by 6 storage building in exactly the same.
So we're
spot.
saying the same thing. So, yeah, okay, so
Technically, they are all considered accessory
Accessory
buildings
buildings.
by definition.
if they're not part of the house,
Right.
if the garage is not part of the footprint of that.
Towards our own definitions, it's probably taken partly from that, it's anything instrumental in the main structure, such as private garage for automobile, storage, tool house or shed, storage house, garden shelter, greenhouse, boathouse, or fence, but not involving the conduct of business. And even under the
That's not a
definition of
building
building,
now. Fence, we need to take that out of,
Yeah, where the
Fence,
fence,
that's not a-
it's not,
well, let me read you the definition of a building.
okay.
Any structure built for the support, shelter, and enclosure of persons, domestic animals, chattels, or movable property, and interpreted to include any fence, swimming pool, or other accessory or adjunct facilities. So that's the definition of a building. It could include a swimming pool or fence. So,
Building, a building.
and by the way, because of that definition is the only reason today, until we revise this, that you could stop someone from putting a fence like we did on Elmwood. We should have not, technically, we could have disallowed that because a fence is a building, and a building can't be closer than 40 feet, or 20 feet.
20 feet.
I'm just saying. My mother always told me I should be a lawyer, because I argued with her all the time.
We're calling.
But that's, That's kind of lawyer speak here, and it's
Well,
clearly says it.
and we have to legalize this. I mean, it's
Yeah.
gonna be a legal document that we,
And when we do get the fences, we do need to, I agree, it should be under buildings and accessory, but we do need to specify it more clearly when we get there.
yes.
So, back to what who we differentiate.
Do we differentiate?
Well, we can break them out.
Are we allowed to, based on what you just read? Can we?
I think we could break them out by
garage
usage.
and-
I think we
garage
could break it out by
slash
usage. I think this is just a basic definition.
Yeah, so we could say, I mean, so a garage
I didn't look in.
can be an accessory to, and a storage shed can be an accessory.
We can write different rules
So we
for
could
each.
put, I don't know why you can't write different rules for each, or make a garage an exception.
Yeah.
A garage and
Garage and
carport
carports exceptions
as
because
exceptions to this.
we have we have bigger vehicles, we have boats that need to go into these things, and a lot of these lots do not allow access to the backside without having a corner lot or having extra lots, like we have 5 lots. To be able to do that.
Right. That's why.
If somebody's got just one lot,
It goes back to what
We're
I'm
not gonna
saying,
do it.
you can only do what you can possibly do on a given lot.
if you've got the
If you've
50 by
got the
150, you're gonna be so close, you're not gonna be able to,
You're going,
yeah, you're gonna have to go out front with the garage. And look at some of the lake lots over here where their garage is out front and then their house is in the back,
There's some right across.
right across the lake.
Garages are right there.
yeah, and for new builds, I mean, it's a little bit easier, but like I said, the house is already existing and you wanna add something and you wanna improve,
But if somebody wants to put their garage up front, and it's really nice, and then go to the back of their house,
But, this all comes back to your vision of what the city should look like, not just yours, but maybe I'll share that vision. We have to write it in a way that people don't take advantage of it. And let me give you an example. Let's say, suppose you wanted to put your carport right in front of your front door, with about 5 feet between that and your house, right? I mean, just where you can't even see your house because of your carport.
Right.
That probably wouldn't look the way you wanted it to look, but if we write it, if we're not careful, we can write it where they can do that. Most people would make it look nice and just like, you're talking about, or like you did. But we just have to be careful how we word it so that people don't take advantage of it, make it look ratty. And somehow it has to be worded based on approval of our commission or something. I don't know if
Well,
if that can be worded in there or not, but
Maybe also, what we're also would be considering is the bid, what material would they use?
well, and that's specified in here too, isn't it?
That's just, yeah, but that some people are not going to, they're just gonna put something up, you have to,
I'm not sure we even specify material on accessories.
I mean, I grew up in a poor home, and my stepdad built things, just to build things, carport. It's a carport, but was it I-10? Nope. And I hate to say it, I was always embarrassed, because people pull up and our carport is like this. But you did what you did, but here though, we're like the mayor's vision, and we all have a vision of what we would like the world to look like. But if you don't control what some people do, it's gonna look like some of these side streets. Just continue. They're gonna say, well, that carport over there,
yeah, exactly.
that carport's been built 20 years.
I'll give you one example too, when over Michael's Road, there were narrow lots and people house we sold over there had a nice two-car garage, beautiful garage. The guy bought it, wanted an extra bedroom, which he made into the garage. And now he's got a carport. It's a firm because there's no rules. And the guy next door said, well, he did that, I'll put one in. So it looks, before, if you had a driveway that was open and you could park the cars there, and you had a garage. And people come down here, they want more room, he built an interior bedroom, so the guy next door. Now they've got carport. And then the garage door
And
is sitting there.
if they do it right, it can look nice.
But it doesn't. It doesn't.
If they do it with matching materials, matching shingles, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but anything goes, what I'm trying to say, that there's nobody,
so let's figure out how we
See,
can word this to cover, do we want to break out the definitions and specifically say this is for everything except carports and garages or something like that? Or we want to write a separate paragraph for carports and garages?
Excluding carports and garages.
Exceptions. Carport, some exceptions.
So this, right now, it says you can't have a detached building nearer than 40 feet from the front lot line. So,
If we had to go back 40 feet, put our boat in the shop that we want to build, we'd have to take out 4 beautiful trees.
so we
Go all the way
probably
to the
should say
backside of our,
something about with the exception of carport or garage or something to that effect. And I don't know if we need to elaborate more.
On C is where you want to do
That's what I'm
that. I
thinking.
mean,
don't know.
C before we even get to one.
Yes, I mean, I don't know, what, you'll speak up, but that's what I'm thinking.
Well, let's put it in writing and we can take a look at it after it's in writing.
yeah.
I'll
I
type
think
it
we're
up
gonna
and
have
we
to do
can
something.
see.
I agree with Walden on this.
Okay, so, detached except
It could be like a separate sentence if they have to do something.
that's what I was thinking, but maybe a separate sentence.
We could, just make a note that we're gonna put a sentence there. Something about sign.
So we should say, so we could say that, blah, 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 5 feet to the side lot lines and 6 feet from the back lot line, with the exception of garages and carports, which can be no nearer than 20 feet. From the front lot line, because we don't want anything built closer than 20 feet to the road, I mean, to the lot line,
Right,
right?
but
The front lot.
the way it's written right now, the way we just changed it to R1 zoning restricted more than 40 feet to the front. The front lot line, common, nearer than 5 feet to the side, lot lines, and 6 feet from the back lot line.
With the exception of
With
garages
the
and
exception.
carports,
With the
Which-
ex- Yeah, with the exception.
which may,
yep, the only difference is gonna be the 40 foot and the 20 foot.
Which may extend into the.
So,
We don't have anything
which,
Which may extend to the 20-foot mark,
Right.
20-foot from
Front build line. They used to call them build lines, I don't know.
I'm not sure what it is, I'm seeing different words.
I think lot line, it tends, who knows?
Well,
You said
which may
Well,
not
the
extend.
Pin line, and then the build line
Right,
would be the
Close to the.
The bin line
5, 6, and,
the bin line's supposed to be flat, that's supposed to be flat,
and then within that you have the box of the
which is what I was
5,
saying.
5, and the 6,
Right, which is what I was saying.
and then that would be the building lines.
Right, which is what I was saying, on a normal 7,500 square foot lot, you really have 49 feet.
Right.
Because of,
And then my little house is
Okay,
960.
so how does this sound? Detached accessory buildings shall not be constructed or portioned R1 zoning district nearer than 40 feet to the front line, or nearer than 5 feet to the side lot lines, and 6 feet from the back lot line, with the exception of garages and carports, which may not extend nearer than 20 feet to the front lot line. May not be built, may not be constructed.
so,
It's not like you have to include it there, did they?
Shall not be
if you have,
constructed,
stay within all of those.
Constructed.
you have to stay within.
if you get constructed up here at the top, shall not be constructed.
Still, but that happens to the houses.
60 feet.
That's.
That's exactly what went through my head when I thought through all, what.
Okay, so it's gonna say, with the exception of garages and carports, which may not be constructed nearer than 20 feet to the front line. Is that-
Where we say to the front line, one of them went outside the front, and you did the same thing the first time, see, but one.
Well, it says, because it says 40 feet to the front, that's
Yeah,
what I
no,
just
okay.
said, so what does it say
My question
about?
is, in both places, do we say from the front property line or no nearer than 20 feet?
Okay, so, yes, because up here in B, it says from the front lot line, so,
It makes
okay,
more sense to
I'll
me
say
to
from, okay, instead of to, we'll say from the front. We have
Okay.
constructed near than 20 feet.
And now we got that, now Lee just pointed out, same thing went through my head when I was reading through this home again, is that they're still saying that you can put a 6x6 tool shed in front of the house if the house happens to be further back than 40 feet. Because the tool shed has to be back 40 feet according to this, but if the house is back 50 or 60, then we can still have a tool shed right in front of the house. I don't know how to deal with that, I don't know if we can deal with that.
I mean, the only thing you can say is that no accessory building will be in front,
Additionally,
will be in front of the house,
Yeah.
existing house line.
the
I
dwelling,
mean, dwelling,
Yeah, dwelling.
Dwelling.
yeah, dwelling. I mean, that's the only thing, I'm sitting here, I'm shaking my head and going.
Hey,
Well,
that's
then we should not say, then we shouldn't say 40 feet. So.
well, that's the minimum.
Well, you can say.
Well, how about, no, but how about if I didn't have enough room, like behind my house, but I have room.
Like
Side-
if your house is all the way to the back of the lot.
If it's all the way back there, it should just not be any closer than the front of your dwelling.
Right, or 40 feet, because you can,
You can push it out to 40 feet right on the road, and if that's.
if the house is back 60, you can say no further forward than the front of the house, or 40 feet, whichever.
Yeah, whichever is.
Yeah, I'm like y'all.
Closer to the road.
Yeah, that's simple, that wording, but that's my thinking, is it would either be no
Which is
further,
nearer to
no closer to the road or the front lot line than the front of the house,
Shall
or 40 feet, whichever.
not be placed no closer than 40 feet from the. I don't know. You can-
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm still sitting there going, we can
So-
see a 6 by 6.
I have a question about this word portion.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a problem with that? Should say position.
Position, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out if that was a typo or if that was.
I think it should say position.
It's position, but.
Portion. And then.
All right, so, all right, detached accessory buildings shall not be constructed or positioned in the R1 zoning district nearer than the front
Of the dwelling.
what do you call that?
Not here, but
When you talk about-
one of the dwelling,
That's what the front of the dwelling.
what do they call it up there? What do we call
That's
it?
what I was talking.
And this, if you call it wrong, I know we can do that way.
What do we say in the fence ordinance? Inside.
You can still put a 6 by 6
Beside it.
beside it.
You can't
Put
put
a
it,
six
can't
by
put it-
six beside it, but it cannot be in front of it.
Right, cannot be in front of it. That's what you need to say that. Or,
if we say you were just reading there.
yeah, you were just,
No nearer than 40 feet from the front,
From the front,
um,
Well, if we tell them that they can put it all the way up to the front of the front of the.
what we're trying to say, I don't know how to word this, we're trying to say 40 feet from the front lot line or no further, no closer to the front lot line than the front of the house. That's what we're trying to say.
Whichever
Whichever
is
Whichever is
greater.
Or
further
can you
back.
put, shall not extend from. I'm lost in words again. We need drawings. Shall
Come on,
not
stop it.
extend beyond. One of the dwelling,
Front of the dwelling.
one of the dwelling. See, my problem is, and I see it now, somebody goes, well, that house, well, I don't know if that one. Eventually, somebody said that.
Well, they shouldn't, and that was done a long time ago.
Well, that's what I was saying.
But you can't have one.
I told him that, right now. Still.
yeah, we're trying to cement some new rules.
We, okay,
All right, you can maybe look at that now.
you can say in no case, you can say the 40 feet, but in no case closer to the front lot line than the front of the dwelling.
Because what if right now the dwelling is 32 feet off of the line?
Yeah, you gotta, so you gotta say whichever is greater or something like that, because, because there's.
That's why I said whichever is greater.
Or put on there, it shall not
Greater.
extend beyond the. What we call it, front of the house.
Well, front of the dwelling, yeah. Or-
Then we don't really get to the front, street side.
so you can, but
40,
it can be no closer to the front lot line than the dwelling. In the front,
closer to 40 feet or the front of the dwelling, whichever is greater. Alright.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yes, it sounds good.
Then the front face.
And good luck reading them.
Well,
And good luck reading them.
Front face of the dwelling, that's gotta include porch, so.
Yeah,
and
but this is near space, corner, or portion of the dwelling.
And then there's
I was trying to come back up to the same, keep the same wording.
the nearest, or the front, you said.
frontmost portion of the.
Yeah, because it, I mean, if you've got it sitting this way, and the street's out here,
Okay.
this would be the, and I'm just thinking about
No, yeah, exactly,
You
exactly.
know, and
So,
they set them this way on the lot, not this way.
so if this is our lot, and we've got our house, our
So
lot,
40, in that case, the 40 feet, or the front of the front portion of the dwelling.
Right.
Whichever is greater would work, because if the trailer is up to,
Crossways.
up pretty close to the road.
yeah, exactly.
You gotta be
There
Wait
40
a
feet
minute,
back.
wait a minute. Charlie's address is on Travis.
Yeah.
His front door faces
It
Wiley.
sure does,
Correct.
it sure does.
But he's on a corner, so both are front.
Right,
Both of them.
but not all of them are. But for instance,
Right.
what if there was another lot between him and Wider? And he's got all these,
Building.
yeah.
So, okay,
Yeah.
so what we're saying here is like, let's say this is the lot right here, and this house is sitting 40 feet. Then we can have a accessory building that is up to the structure. If this is 32 feet, we can have it up to.
No,
No.
40 feet or the front of the building, whichever is greater.
Whichever is greater.
Or 40 is greater,
Okay, but what if we have a building that's 32 right now?
still 40.
Okay, so it's
Still
like
40.
they have to sit it back to 40,
Put it back 60.
but it goes back 60. Now, this has to be up here.
Has to be back 60.
That's
Has
what
to
I'm
be
saying.
Whichever's greater.
behind.
Whichever is greater.
Right, that's what
Whichever
I'm
is
saying.
greater.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Probably,
I had to
Probably go
visually
home and
look at it.
about 1 o'clock in the morning, I'll jump up and say,
Oh, wait a minute. We need those little paper things. Move around.
I'll
We
move
do.
around.
You know, put a little
And then
sofa
little
over here,
sofas in
chair.
Just picture the words now, not just picture words. I got the picture, Lee. I
Yeah,
just gotta have the words.
I know, I put the picture in my head.
So do you
No
have the
accessory
word?
building
I
shall
was-
be,
Let's time out, let's
All right.
have to get the words here.
no accessory building shall be located, what did we say a while
Shall
ago?
be constructed or positioned
Or position,
nearer than
And
Or greater.
the front of the dwelling
no nearer than 40 feet from the front lot line or the
front
front
face
facing, front face of the structure.
The front, and
But
that
the-
portion, because of, like I say, a porch isn't a facing.
So the
The
front,
corner of the
I wouldn't say the I wouldn't say, add the porch to it. I know there's a term there that.
so we could say, you could say the front face, corner or portion of the building. Is that right? Or the dwelling, that's what we used up in
Okay, use the same words then.
So near face.
face corner portion of the dwelling. There you go.
Whichever is
Great,
greater.
that's it.
Yes.
Now leave it back to us if you can.
It's all in Spanish.
Don't know Spanish, did you?
Oh, okay.
Detached accessory buildings shall not be constructed or positioned in the R1 zoning district nearer than 40 feet from the, let's see, from the front lot line or the front face, corner or portion of the dwelling, whichever is greater, nor nearer than 5 feet to the side lot lines and 6 feet from the back lot line, with the exception of garages and carports, which may not be constructed nearer than 20 feet from the front lot line. And is that a run-on sentence?
Is that,
I may change
That's
this
over.
to say the same thing
right,
using a
that's
couple
at
of
least
sentences.
3 sentences, that's at
Yeah.
least 3 sentences.
Okay. feel free to do so.
Yeah, period,
All right.
period.
All right. We are,
Got our
We are-
refrigerator in there.
we are now at 1.5 hours here.
So let me ask you a question before we're probably getting ready to adjourn here.
I make a
Number 2, at the bottom of page 6, do we even need that? Somehow somebody raised a question probably and then they threw that in there.
Oh, number 2, the garden thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, you can put it's basically there because someone wants to have a shed to
And they're
to
gonna join
maintain
lot.
tool, yeah, they have the joining lot, you can't build anything else up there, but they're saying, oh, but what if I have a garden and I wanna have a shed, and I wanna put a lawnmower in there with my tools?
Why
That's
can't
what
you do it in?
I don't.
Well, I'm just questioning, I mean,
Okay,
one individual probably
we
raised this
had,
issue.
we had the people we bought our lots from
Yeah.
had that.
I mean,
So they had a garden and a tool shed on.
Well, they had a little shed, he had his lawnmower stuff in there.
On the
He
second
came,
lot.
he came over there on those 2 lots. He come over, he gets lawnmower out, and he knows
There you
it's.
go. That's why they did it.
So, because we say you can't have an accessory building just on a lot, I think.
Yes.
So this is a way around that. Well, I'm gonna
No
take-
tent, shed,
I'm gonna
barn,
take a
shack,
2-foot by
vehicle,
2-foot garden.
protection, protection.
Yeah, you could theoretically put a pot.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's my garden, guys.
I got a little pot out there with a tomato plant in it, so I don't know, it just seems like a building a loophole. And you're right.
Well, who's
someone
gonna
would
call it a
use
bona fide home garden? What's a bona fide?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he didn't
It's
really
the real
garden.
deal.
I mean, he didn't really garden, but he did,
Who didn't have a garden?
no, he did not have a garden.
Well, that was illegal.
But he did, there is a shed on there. When we got the lots, there was a shed on there. And he got his lawnmower out.
So putting aside grandfathered field sheds, do you want someone to be able to put a shed on an empty lot and say, well, I have a little garden here?
No, and I don't want, and when somebody tears down a structure, a residential structure, or moves a mobile home off on a lot, I don't think they should be allowed to keep their accessory buildings on the lot.
Then let's take off number 2 and delete it. That's what, unless y'all disagree.
I don't,
I just didn't think we needed it personally, but
I don't either.
I didn't know if that was some sort of
and this is vague anyway, there's a small tool shed, what's the definition of
What's a
small?
small.
Yes.
Yep, I didn't know if that was some agriculture thing that we.
So we have.
We can't, we're city, we don't have to have any agriculture.
Yeah, but
We have to
I didn't know if
have
that,
mobile
but we
homes.
stuck in there because of that.
I'm sure that, yeah.
There's always gonna be somebody that's gonna go, I wanna do this.
Well, but, you know, and we can get money because of this, you know, because we're allowing these people to garden.
And so,
I didn't know.
and so if I were doing a garden, I'd have to go, yeah, I need a permit for a bona fide
Bonafide,
garden.
that's just the trade.
Hey, it's gonna be the real deal, I promise you. I'll
You
have
gotta
all-
put
Among other things, among other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Among other
so
things.
we have done one page here.
We're moving right along.
Hey,
Well, we knew this was gonna.
but we did a hard part.
all
We did a
want-
hard part.
we all want
We
to
did,
do.
we did a hard part, so when we come to that, these same things
Further down.
Yeah.
in
We
the
should be able
other
to fly to the
sections,
next-
in the other districts, we'll be able to copy a lot of what's on here.
And some of the stuff, you know, like, you know, your sewer and garbage and stuff, you know, that all these are pretty well set already.
That got my attention where community sewer disposal system has to be blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? Why is it even there? We got a city sewer system.
We're gonna take it out.
Well, don't you think that probably was,
But now,
Well,
we
it
got a
is-
septic
Like I
system.
said, this
That's
was
what
a,
that was
I'm
for.
telling you, this was a catch-all.
When was this originally written?
Oh, gosh, it's been ongoing. It's been ongoing since eighty.
But that one- but that one-
this is revision number 11,
11.
how long do you think
Yeah,
it's been?
yeah.
But that one paragraph, you know, when you start talking about the sewage and everything, I'm like, well,
Yeah.
that must have been written when we had septic tanks.
Yeah, there's
Well,
nothing to even confine
And,
it.
and I think that a lot of things, you know, have changed. Sure. Where they were not, and we've got, as has been pointed out, overlapping. Because as far as I'm concerned, very little of this stuff about sewer and stuff, because that's all in the water ordinance, which is number 90,
Yeah,
which is 90, and this is only 31, so.
Yep,
yeah, because if you need to erase that from here and put it down there with the sewer and the water, because that's actually how our ability.
I mean, I think in here it needs to say that you have to hook up to the sewer and water, period. No,
we may not have done much, but I think this is gonna help us down the road when we start,
So, I mean,
you know,
if-
referring back to the,
Right, well, when you get this,
so we're gonna delete two, right? We're gonna delete,
we're gonna delete,
delete two,
we're gonna delete the small shed.
right? With the bona fide home guard.
And the small filter.
Because I just asked questions about what happens if you buy the lot next door and you want to put a swimming pool there with a pump room, you know? With a shed.
Oh.
Only, there is a
There
provision
is.
that you can say, only if they replat. And make it all one thing, all one, so that they cannot sell each lot separately.
Right.
So there is language that I have found where it says that you can,
That makes sense.
that if you
Right.
cannot do it unless you replat and join those two
So,
lots.
so lot one you buy, and then lot two you buy, because you want to put a pool there. You have to have one and two replatted to show
It has to
that
be.
it's now
Right.
one lot. Because you have a swimming pool attached to them.
Right.
That's what
Cannot
happened,
sell each separate.
And that makes perfect sense.
that's what happened to us.
That's what we need to put in here, because I don't know if it's anywhere in here, but.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened to us, because when we bought it, we bought one lot and we bought another lot, but it all came together, but it was under separate. It was filed together, but he never did put it together. So we had to reappraise the whole.
Oh, yeah. And you have to pay for that down, you have to go back
Yeah,
down.
we had to pay for everything to get it, and now we look at our stuff, we're just one big lot.
Yeah, that's what it should be.
It's a headache.
It is an undertaking, but if that's what you want to do, that's what you.
That makes sense, that makes sense.
If you wanna keep problems from happening on down the road, let's say you go and sell your home, you don't have to deal with two different owners, so like for us, a lot. Larry had bought that lot to a handshake.
Yeah,
And then we found out that the lady had filed in Henderson, Texas. We went over there, did all the paperwork, come back, had it redone, stuck in one lot, and now we, it's like you said, that's the way you need to do it.
That's,
I mean, you have to, because theoretically, with this,
yes, we need to wrap up.
just to say, because theoretically, if you had lot one, lot two, you put a swimming pool with a pump room on it. Next thing you can sell that lot with the swimming pool, and people will show up on the weekend to swim with the swimming pool, but they don't own the house next door,
Exactly.
you know?
Mhm.
Next thing you know, you got maybe a pen there, because you can't have it on the weekend, why you're swimming in the pool.
That's already issues already. People want to buy lots and just put tents on them.
Yes, yes, we have somebody that wanted to do it.
Okay, well,
All right,
I make a motion that we adjourn.
okay.
I'll second that.
All right. I just need to make a note of who did what here. And B types this up. Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
I got a question.
all in favor?
I got a
Very
question.
close.
So we need to figure out what we're.
What's our next meeting?
Oh,
Yes, when do you want to, when do you meet, when do you meet next?
Because this is gonna take a while, guys. I mean, this is not gonna happen overnight.
I mean, you might as well,
Suggestions, anybody?
Wednesdays are good for me. Fridays are hard.
Renee?
If this is night,
Until church starts.
until church starts, Renee and I are.
All day.
Well, I mean, I don't get to go to church because I don't get often after church, but,
But I go to church on Wednesday nights.
but
It hasn't started yet, so until it does, Wednesdays
So-
are fine for me.
and then you maybe go to the Thursday or something.
And then you could go Thursdays except for council.
Council,
Or we could go.
or Tuesday,
Or you could do
Tuesday.
Tuesdays.
or you could do.
David had an
maybe Tuesday.
issue with Tuesdays, though.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
David
that's
has.
right, well, he's got an issue with Wednesday. He's not here. It's Wednesday.
Oh, obviously, there's a problem. No, he was gonna.
I'm gonna
He was gonna be here.
Yeah, he may have forgotten. So next.
I'm just gonna,
No, so, yeah, we can do Tuesdays if you want to, that's fine.